Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of karTECH Talks. My name is karTECH and I serve as the Vice President and Chief Information Officer for LIMRA, LOMA, SRI, and LL Global. In our previous video, we explored waterfall and Agile and talked about the many benefits of Agile. To recap, Agile is much more than a process or a systems development framework. Agile is an interactive and iterative approach to developing and delivering product. Most often, we equate this product with technology, a system or software, but an Agile approach can be used to develop any product. Agile is not a tool. Agile is prescriptive of a process, but it's not just a process framework. It is much more than that. Agile is a cultural shift on how we, business and IT, come together to organize, plan, and execute on work. Agile requires business and IT equitably, and although the concepts may have emerged from within technology, they can be applied to most product development. As I discussed in our last video, business groups leverage Agile principles in their product development process, products that have little to no IT or technology involvement. Agile is a broad term. Most teams and organizations use the word Agile and Scrum interchangeably. To be clear, Scrum is one of the ways and arguably the most popular process to implement Agile. Scrum is a process. Agile is a mindset. The Scrum process is focused on a continual feedback loop and continuous improvement, and how teams can communicate with each other and their stakeholders to adopt and adapt shifting needs. The core focus is on consuming the entire apple one bite at a time. Your mission is to deliver the highest business value, it could be working software, within a time-boxed period. Scrum prescribes a set of procedures, principles, and practices. The values that a team embodies within a Scrum team are those that Agile espouses. These, according to the Agile Manifesto, are individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and number 4, responding to change over following a rigid plan. Let's explore a few characteristics of Agile Scrum. Number 1, Scrum intends to deliver the maximum amount of business value in the shortest time possible. 2, a working deliverable, a finished deliverable within the confines of that time-boxed period. Perhaps working software is the characteristic of Scrum. Number 3, the business owns and sets the priorities for each sprint. These can shift from sprint to sprint and generally stay aligned to an overall set of objectives or a product vision. Number 4, team empowerment. In Agile Scrum, the Scrum team is fully empowered to set the strategy on how to execute the mission. That is, how to deliver the highest priority features. As we discussed in our prior video, an Agile Scrum team is a cross-functional Scrum team. That means that the entire team, typically 6 to 10 people, no more than 10 individuals, is a team that is comprised of business individuals and IT individuals. They each have an equal stake in coming together to ensure the successful development and delivery of the product that they build jointly. Let's explore some of the key roles on a Scrum team. Number 1, the product owner. The product owner is the business. The product owner serves as the proxy for the business sponsor or the stakeholder. She or he defines the product roadmap, what the roadmap should look like, when to release, and what's included in that release. The product owner, also known as a PO, prioritizes features, adjusts each sprint, and accepts or declines the end product of the team. Number 2, the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master provides management of process and serves as a coach, guide, mentor, evangelist, and enforcer of values and practices as defined by Scrum. The Scrum Master serves to protect the Scrum team. She or he is responsible to remove impediments, focuses on team building and their productivity. Number 3, the Scrum team. As we have discussed, a Scrum team is a cross-functional team. developers, business resources coming together. They are ideally full-time devoted to the Scrum team and their product. Now, you will utilize external resources, but the core team owns the process of how to incorporate these external resources into their Scrum team and into their process. How does Agile work? Let's explore that quickly. It all starts with a product backlog. This is the entire list of all things you want to have in your product. Features, functionality, tasks, subtasks that are required to accomplish those tasks, etc. This is the full list. You obviously cannot get to a full list in one time-boxed 2-week increment called a sprint. So you need several bites at that apple. Working with your Scrum team, the product owner brings in the work that everyone agrees can be accomplished within a 2-week increment. Each of these features is known as a story. You also have tasks that are associated with these stories. Each story gets assigned a point value. The point value is called a story point. This is a relative term, and it is used to indicate how meaty a story is. If the story is a lot of work, it gets a higher story point. If another story is relatively less work, it gets a lesser point value. All of these stories are brought together into something called a sprint backlog. How many stories or story points can we believe at the start of the sprint can be accomplished by this Scrum team? This is an honest, open, and transparent dialogue. It is to no one's benefit to overestimate or underestimate. In a Scrum team, there is an expectation that if you are done with your tasks or the stories assigned to you, you can pick up someone else's work as long as you are capable of doing so. This collection of stories is called a sprint backlog. The Scrum team executes on the sprint with some core ceremonies that we will discuss in a minute. Each sprint lasts 2 to 4 weeks. At the end of this, the team is expected to deliver a complete, potentially shippable product increment. Potentially shippable means that it's good enough for prime time, something you can put in front of your customers. Let's draw an analogy to laundry and what a laundry sprint might look like. You have a hamper of dirty clothes. That's your laundry backlog. You get dirty clothes out of your hamper. You put them through the washer and dryer, which is in effect of your sprint. And then you have a potentially wearable increment. And finally, let's explore some Scrum terms. In Scrum, there are no meetings.
Hooray!
Settle down. Before you get excited, Scrum does not have meetings. Scrum has ceremonies.
Huh?
Number 1, sprint planning. The Scrum team selects items from the product backlog and creates a sprint backlog. Sprint planning is a Scrum team sport. Everybody on the Scrum team owns this. Number 2, sprint review. The Scrum team presents to the stakeholders what it has accomplished at the end of the sprint. This can include product demos. It involves getting stakeholder feedback. The entire team participates. Number 3, a sprint retrospective. The Scrum team self-reflects, and this is done after each sprint. This is the forum for radical candor. Stakeholders and external resources are prohibited from attending the sprint retrospective. If you're a Scrum team, you believe someone on the team needs to do more or needs to do something different, this is the time to address it. If someone needs a shift in attitude, this is the time to address it. The entire team participates. Number 4, the daily Scrum, also known as the stand-up meeting. This daily stand-up, usually no more than 15 minutes, is focused on answering 3 questions across the entire Scrum team. 1, what did you do yesterday? 2, what are you doing today? And number 3, what impediments are in your way that the entire team can help you with? The whole team is invited. Stakeholders, external resources, they're all invited. What are CI/CD? Shift left, DevOps, DevSecOps. Well, join me next time in the next video in this series as we explore these key additional concepts and roles and responsibilities. Whether you're business or IT or both, I hope you will find them insightful. We love to get your feedback. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, please leave your comments in the comment section of this video below. Until next time, I'm karTECH for karTECH Talks.